Hello guys, this is my tutorial on Hammer 2, the map editor for Counter-Strike 2 specifically. There is other versions for Half-Life Alyx and other games that have slight differences, so this is specifically for Counter-Strike and making maps for this game. So first make sure you have the tools installed, so go to your library, then right click Counter-Strike, go to Properties, DLC, and in here make sure that you have selected Counter-Strike Workshop tools. If you haven't, if you don't have them already, just click this, the game will update and install them. After that you play it and you will get a launch option. You select the tools and you press play. And first a window will appear. I have some projects already, so I'm gonna create a new add-on. I'm gonna just call it project 3 for now. And if you create a new add-on, it will set it as default. If it's not, right click and set as default. But I want to edit the project 3, so I will set it as default. And you can press the edit add-on map, but if you have made a map already and want to edit it again, it might crash if you just click here. So you want to launch the tools first with that button and just wait for it to load. And it will launch Counter-Strike, the actual game, in the background. So it will launch that, then it will open an asset browser. It's a bit different, the one that launches when you start the tools. In the top right corner you have the tools section, and with this you can click the map editor. And this will launch the Hammer 2 editor. And by default it doesn't have anything open, so you have to go to File, Recent Files, and then your project will be here. My project 3, I just created it, so it won't show in the menu. So you go here and go to your file, maps folder, and project 3 vmap. I think it stands for Valve map. And when you create a new project, you will have a basic room made by Valve, which explains all the functionality and has all the necessary things for a map to work. So you can basically compile this map and it will work. But outside this ready-made map, you can start building your own map. And I don't have anything planned for this tutorial, so I'm just gonna start making a map. And what most people do is they pick a layout first. I like to have three view primary. So I have one big one at the top, and then I have top view on the left bottom, and right bottom I have the side view. And I like to keep the side actually in front most of the time, but it depends what you're editing. So you'll be changing these quite often. Also you have the ray tracing option here as well. If you want to preview the map lighting without exporting, this is a good way to preview it, but it will consume power a lot more and your PC will be very noisy while using this option. So full bright is the way to go when you edit a map. And grid size, it's good to keep it on maybe 8 between 128. For small details you'll be adding, you can use whichever suits your needs, but for basic layout making I prefer 64 or 128, but there's no one right answer. And you can start making a basic map with the block tool. And with a block tool you can create an actual block, as the name implies, or you can create a quad, which is just one side of a block, or cylinder, or spike, or sphere. Doesn't really matter. But block for your first map should be good enough, because it's you can start making the room inside. And now you have the basic block, but it's not a room, you know, so we need to flip the faces inwards so you can basically see the faces inside. So we'll be quickly selecting the face tool, and by pressing F on your keyboard you will flip the faces, and with this we have our room. And to get reference to the size of the room, I recommend you always place a player start model, because this shows you roughly what size the room actually is when you're playing the game. So I start with this. So the player model is 64 units high, roughly. So if you want to hide a character behind a wall, the wall should be 64 units high. And the dev texture here shows you 64 by 64 hammer unit lines. So it's easy to edit with this texture. And when you have the layout ready, you can start adding your own textures after that, and I'll cover them in a later video. But now let's go on with the tutorial. So you can select with the mesh tool one single mesh. So any kind of one mesh, you can select it with the mesh tool, and by default you have the select tool equipped, and with this you can change the size of the block. So now you see we dragged the sides 128 units to the right and to the front, and here you have a basic room. And the tools, these are the main tools, but groups and navigation is not so important as the first four, and you can select between them with the number keys on the top row of your keyboard. And vertices are the corners of the shapes. So if I want to edit a single corner to be something else, I'll select the vertices tool, and I can change one vertex at a time, or I can select them. I can select multiple vertices by holding the middle mouse button, and a lasso tool will appear, and I can just put all the vertices I want to edit inside the lasso, and it will select them. After that, most of the time you want to press T for transform tool. And the transform tool allows you to move the position of the selected vertices, edges, faces, or meshes. So if I want the room to be higher, maybe only 64 units higher, I change the grid size, and then I just drag up. And you see we added one block which is 64 units to the walls. But if I don't want them, I can just press Ctrl Z, or I can just move it back. It doesn't really matter. I can also do the same thing with the edge tool, which is a great tool for doing this as well. Now it might select, when you double click an edge, it will select the loop of edges but it's a bit random which one it selects. So you see this changes this double clicking this selects the bottom loop, pressing this selects the wall loop, and pressing this selects it as well, and double clicking this selects the ceiling. So you might have to try different edges, it's a bit random. And the same thing applies, you are dragging the edges upwards, and because this face is inside these edges, it gets dragged up when these edges get dragged up. And now the face tool. With this you can select a face. So if I want to drag this face up, I just select the face, and with the transform tool just drag it up. And if I have the mesh tool, it will select all the meshes and move that up and down. So now we have the basic tools explained. I will start creating the room a bit more. So one tool that is very useful is the clipping tool. With this you can clip the faces into smaller portions. So this you have to have the face selected for it to work, and the shortcut for the clipping tool is Shift X. And now you see when I have the face selected and I use the tool, it will cut it in half. In the keep mode you can choose to keep the left front, or keep the back, or or you can keep both. And I can press enter, and now it has those separated. I can also press C while I have the face selected, and it will create this type of cut tool. And with this I can also cut, and you can use the cut tool in not just in the faces mode and in vertices mode and in the edges mode. And cut tool is very useful because with this you can make quick changes and cut the face how you like. And now I have selected an edge, and I can split the edge by pressing Alt N, and this cross pattern will appear. This means that these two faces are no longer connected. And what this allows me to do is to select one of the edges, press T for transform, and start dragging the face. If I change the grid size to be 16, I can drag it to be only a small part of what it was. And now I want to have a top edge as well. So I'll take the face tool, select the faces, select the clipping tool, and with this you can see I can cut both faces at the same time if I select them both. And the way you do that is you have the face tool, you press 1 and then you hold down Shift, a plus will appear on the cursor and you can select all the faces you want. If you press Ctrl, a minus will appear on the cursor and you can deselect faces. So I select them both I take the clipping tool, I clip them both, I press enter, and now I have these faces, a smaller part of the faces. Now I have these two smaller edges here. I can select them both by clicking one, then holding shift, then taking the other. And if I want to bridge them, I press B, only B. And that creates a bridge. It also closes the edges and makes a face between them. And now I have this one here. As you can see, this edge extends to here, which we do not want. So we select the bottom one. I take the clipping tool, and if I want to make multiple cuts to the face, I press space. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and when I have the last one, I press enter, and it enters the clipping tool and creates the cuts I made. Now I have these similar open edges here, and I want to combine them. I can hold down left click. I can select both of them by clicking one, then holding down shift and clicking the other, or I can just click drag over them and it will select both of them. Then I can press M for merge, and it will create a closed edge between them. And what this means is if I start dragging this, you can see everything sticks together because there is no open edges except this one, so nothing is glued to this edge. But if I select this face, which has the open edge here, if I drag this, you can see that these edges do not stay together because they are not together. But this one vertex here, this face is connected to this vertex, this face is connected to this, and this floor face is connected to this. So if I select that and drag it, you can see all of them stay together. If I select this, you can see it only changes that. So I take them both, I merge them, and now when I drag it, all of them stick together. Now, one thing I can also do is take multiple edges and drag them up or down. And I like this better, so I'm gonna keep that. And you can see I have the object tool, and with this I can use it as reference. You see this door is taller than this player, so the player can go in without issue. Now what I next want to do is to select the open loop. And with the faces tool, with the edges tool, I can hold down shift. So normally you drag this, it just extends like that. But if I hold down shift and drag, it will start creating new faces when I drag. So I'm gonna create a doorway here for the player to go. And on the other side, I can extrude the faces. That looks a bit weird. So I'm gonna do it manually. So I'm gonna create a new room, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm gonna create another block. I'm gonna set the grid back to 128 or 64, and create the block. And I'm gonna, you see, this is where the side view is useful. So if I want this room to be same height as this one, I can just use the side view and drag the vertical handle upwards, and I can see with this view already that they are the same height. And again, I'm gonna take the faces and flip them, and when I go inside it becomes another room. But I have this face here, and it will block the player from entering. So I will need to create a doorway here on the other side as well. So I will press C for the cut tool, change my grid size to 16 because that's what I used before. Press space. Press space again and make a third cut here and press enter. And delete this face by pressing delete. And you can see these are open edges still because I haven't still merged them. So I shift double click the little doorway loop, then I double click the new rooms hole, and now I have both of them selected, and I press M, and now they are merged. This somehow, oh yeah, because I have two faces here and only one face here. So I have two edges here and only one on this side. So what I need to do is take these faces and press backspace. It will combine selected faces if it's possible. And it will also close the edge. It might sometimes not close the edge, and you might need to like cut it like this, so the edges are the same width for you to merge, but that worked that time. Next, if I want to create an arch here, which many players want, I select the top on both sides, and I I select only two of them, and I leave one here, and I delete them by pressing delete. Now I have this open edge again, and by pressing Y I can enable the arch tool, and this can only be used on an open edge. On the top you have one slider which lengthens or shortens the handles. I want to keep my handles 16 units wide, and this left bar allows you to change the arch itself. So I like that one, and I like this one. You can play around with them. Also, it takes the values from the grid. So I have a grid size of 16, so the changes happen with 16 hammer unit stops, increments. And when I'm happy with the arch, I just press enter to apply, and now I have this shaped face. Now what's bad about this face is that it has more than 4 edges. This means that it is an n-gon. N-gon is a shape with more than 4 edges. And this is bad for the engine. So you want to always avoid n-gons. And when I create an n-gon, I always have to go back and cut them up to be triangles or quads. So I take the edges tool and I press C for the cut tool, and I go through each one. I select this vertex, point it to that vertex and press space. And I do that for each of the vertices, and you can see I'm creating triangles, and the engine likes this. And with the top one you have to create 2 cuts on both sides, so you have a triangle here as well. And make these quick. It can sometimes be a bit fiddly, but now I have all of them as triangles. Next up, I can select all the open edges, and I have some that I don't want, so I can just hold down Control and loop them, and it will so if they are not like visible, they won't be selected, so you might have to change side to deselect these ones. So now I have this top edge selected, and I press T for transform, and I do the same. I just hold down Shift and I drag, and that way I have made the middle part of the face, but I still have the open one on this. And there's a smarter way of closing, so you don't have to cut all these triangles every time. You can just hold down Shift and drag up the faces a bit like that, and I can merge these edges by pressing O, and with that it creates only one vertex which every one of these edges go to. Then I can take the vertices tool and move the vertex in place. I can now select the other part. I can, in an open edge loop, you can press one edge, hold down Shift and double click, and it will select all of the edges between those 2 clicks, and it always takes the shortest route. So if you have like a different shape, you might need to like first take this one, double click here, and click here. Also, if I misclick like this, I don't have to select them again. I can just press Ctrl Z and it reselects them. Now I do the same. I shift drag up, I press O, I press 1 for the vertex tool, I select this vertex, I drag it down and I drag it left to match that corner. But now we have this open space here. I'm gonna take the edge tool, click that edge, click this edge, and I can bridge them with B. This will create a new face. I could also take this edge and this edge if it would be better and bridge them, but this shape is a bad one, so it will show in red. Always make sure that there's not this going on. So you see the edges meet here, but this extends, and if I try to bridge them, they will it will not work. So I will create this and press B. Also, one way to create this whole thing is let's extend this one. Let's cut it up like this. And let's extend this one. Oh, first I will take the edge tool and split edges by Alt-N. And when I drag this one, you see the top. Oh, it still goes. I don't know why. But yeah. I have this now and I will delete them. And I can select these both and I can bridge them with B, or I can hold down Alt B. And with Alt B I create a curved bridge. And with this you can also create arches on your doorways. And with this method you don't have to cut up the first face like this. You can just, after you have made the bridge with Alt B, you press enter, you can select these, hold down shift, drag them up, press O, take the vertices tool and drag it into place immediately. And you can drag it only a little bit, it doesn't matter. You can hold O, take the vertices tool, drag it up into the right spot, take these edges, press B for bridge, and I have the same thing much quicker. Also, I can do it like this, so I can take these edges, select the open edge loop and press B, hard B, to create a to fill hole. But this is an hang-on and we don't like hang-ons, so we're not gonna do that. I'm gonna deselect the straight edges. I can drag this down, press O and drag this up, and now I can fill this hole and you can see it is a triangle. And now I have 2 doorways made. Now I'm gonna create a staircase for you guys. So I'm gonna create the doorway for the stairs first. Quickly here. And if you don't adjust the topmost slider and you only make changes to the left one, the handles will be heading straight with the edge, so the arch will be perfectly aligned at start. Because if I change this, it will kinda start looking wonky. So I'm gonna keep the top slider most of the time at 0. And I'm gonna take press enter, and then I'm gonna slide them forward like this, change the grid size to 64 and do it one more time. So now it's 128 units long. And after that I'm gonna take this face, I mean this open edge here, and I'm gonna start making the staircase itself. And here you can see the side view shows it from this direction, which is bad. So I'm gonna take front view, and in here I see how I see it from the side. And I'm gonna select this and change my grid size to 8. And I'll start dragging it. First I drag it 16 units on front, 8 units up, 60 units ahead, and I repeat this process. And you can see we are making a staircase. Now I'm gonna extend this to be in line with the ceiling. And after that, I'm gonna select these edges, drag them up, press O, take the one vertex that is left, and drag it to be in position like this. Take this, do the same thing, like this, and now I have this weird shape in triangles already. Now I want to combine these faces, and after that I can select these open edges and press B and bridge them. Like so. And as you can see, the textures can get a bit wonky, so I can just take this whole mesh and I can fix the textures. So I can double click the whole mesh to select all the faces in the mesh and press modify textures, align property, align to grid. And now every face is aligned to the grid again. And this is helpful. You can also, when there's an arch, you might want to select the arch faces and press this one. It aligns them like locally. With custom textures, this might be beneficial. And as you can see, we have created this room right here. And we can take the objects from this room to help with making the map itself. So you can create your custom map and drag these assets into the map, and it will be fine. And if I want to make a turning point here, I can do this, and in the top view zoom in, and I can press insert to change the pivot point, and I can drag it into place in the top view or with these handles here. And next I can press the R key, which will open the rotate tool. And with this I can, if I don't hold down shift, it will just rotate the edge, but if I hold down shift, it will start creating new faces when I drag them. There's also the angle property on the bottom, and by changing that, it will change when it rotates. So now I have 15-degree angle, and when I drag, it creates 15 degrees of new faces. And that's how I create this this corner that is rounded. I can now select all these edges, press T for transform, hold down shift and drag them up. I can also select this top arch edge, press insert, change the pivot point to be in the corner, then transform, then rotate tool, and then rotate them in the same way. I can now select the whole thing. I can just select these edges, merge them first, so only open edges are this hole right here. I'm in the rotate tool. I'm gonna press insert again on the top view, change the pivot point to this, and rotate tool again. And oh wait, I'm gonna change the pivot point to actually on the other side, and then rotate them. And I have the grid size in 15, but if I want it to be maybe 22.5, I can also do that. And now I have created this shape. And I'm gonna just take the transport tool, change the grid size to 64, and just drag them a bit further. And here I have this made. I will select the top part, drag it down, change the grid size back to 16, take the vertices tool, drag it up. If you shift drag, it will create new face, a new face, but if I just drag, it will change the already existing faces. Now I have this. I can just, oh yeah, I have two faces, two edges here and only one here. So I will need to cut this face into two. So I have one here, one here, one here, one here. I bridge them. Also take these. This one is already closed, so these two, press M to merge. And now we have the engine happy with only triangles or 4 edges. And by pressing F8, you can see how the engine will change the quads into triangles. And now if I use the ray tracing visualization, you can see the room is dark, and that's because we do not have any light inside this little level. So we are gonna create a little hole in the roof which the light can get in from. But in Source, you do not just open up a face to let light in. You make a face with a skybox texture, which tells the engine that, hey, let light through this, but it's when you view it in a full bright, it's gonna still have a texture. So I created this face right here, and I'm gonna go into asset browser. You have the asset browser already open. With this you can just type in sky, and search for skybox. Here in this asset browser everything is shown, so you might want to click one of these selections and press open floating window, and in the floating window pick asset browser, go into materials and type in sky. This will show you only materials that has the word sky in them. And here we have tools, skybox. I'm gonna click that and it will select it as active material. I'm gonna drag this to my other monitor, and by pressing Shift D I will replace the texture. And as you can see, if I turn on GPU path tracing, this is what it's gonna look in game. But if I view it in full bright, it's gonna show this texture. And what this does is when the game calculates the lighting for your map, the light comes in and bounces, but it knows that this is like a closed space. So it will not try to create shadows somewhere over here or calculate lighting out here, because we made this. This will make your map compile a lot faster, and with every map you want to have everything enclosed in skybox. But as you can see, we have only this light, and this room will be very dark. So I'm gonna create a window here. So cut this face a bit more. Select this face, press Shift D to put in the skybox texture, and view it in path tracing. As you can see, the light comes through from the window. The room is still a bit dark, so I'm gonna create a bit of a light hole here as well. So like that, like that. Maybe make it a bit bigger. I can also select a face, hold down Shift, and with the arrow keys I can move the face up, and I have the grid size at 16, so it's gonna move it 16 units up or down depending on what I press. So I'm happy with that, and press Shift D. And now with path tracing, as you can see, we have light coming through. Also, while compiling a map, you will need an ray tracing capable card. So that's RTX 20 series or up, and from AMD it's Radeon 6000 series and up. And as you can see, my FPS is only 30 from the bottom, and when I enter full bright, it will go back into 120, which is the FPS max for the editor. And I think you won't need any more. Okay, we are 50 minutes in soon, and I got a couple more things to go through. So next, you had the asset browser here. You can go into models, and in here you type what you want to find. So I'm gonna press maybe a barrel, and in here it will take some time, but all the barrels will load. Now I have placed a barrel inside the room. I don't know why this shape is angry at me, so I'm gonna drag it up and Shift D. Okay, I don't know what went wrong, but it's happy now. Oh, if I know, if I drag this face up with shift, I mean, yeah, if I drag it up and then I just drag it down without shift, it's gonna create this bad face. And the red lines indicate a bad face, and you do not want those in your map. So I had the asset browser somewhere over here. Open floating window, asset browser, models, barrel. And just add a barrel here. And when I have the barrel open, I can press Shift C to open the physics tool. And I can just drag it around. And if I want it to stop, I press space. And it just stops. And this is a good way if you want like natural placement for your props. You can like press T for transform, drag it into the right place, take it a bit off the ground, Shift C, space, press space again, and now it's like landed how it would in real life. I can also maybe shift drag a couple of these. Like this, select them both, Shift C, space, and now they are like how they would be in real life if they have like fallen off from each other. Last thing I think I want to do is to like create a staircase for you guys. So if I want to make some sort of a ramp for you guys, I can make a new face, cut it into a triangle, then delete one of the faces, take the arch tool, and then make like that, maybe 32 and 32, like that. And after that, drag them down a bit, and with this shape I can press insert and change the pivot point to be in this corner. So when I press E, which is the scale tool or resize tool, I can just start dragging it and they will extend to the right direction. Or without shift, I can just do this. And again, I have this edge selected. I can take the transform tool, drag it like that, drag it like that, press O, and I can like make the bottom match as well. So you can see this edge or this vertex isn't in the grid, so we need to like be a bit more careful with this one when making it. And after that I can extend this, then I can like bridge these and maybe create a cut like this, take a vertice here and drag it like this. And this is how you start creating your level. I hope you enjoyed this small tutorial on how to make a room, but this is how it pretty much happens. Leave a like if you liked the video, dislike if you dislike, then I'll make more tutorials probably on how to do stuff in Hammer 2. But thanks for watching.